This is lesson 15.5, finding limits from a table type 1. So we've looked at limits from a graph, and that means that when you're approaching an x value from the left side and when you're approaching that same x value from the right side, do they arrive at the same y value? Whether there's an open circle or not, that means the limit still exists. We're going to do that same thing, but with the table. So our job is to plug in x values to see what the y values are, and they'll tell us that. First thing I might start with is actually right here, f of 3, because all I need to do is plug in x is 3 to tell me what y is. So I'm going to go ahead and put in that f of 3 is negative 1.75. Okay. Why did you not type that in? Oh, it did. Never mind. Then I want to approach 3 from the left. If you think of a number line, sorry, I'm not going to be very good at this, but I'm approaching 3. Something from the left might be 2. So I'm going to plug in 2 to my table and hit try, and I see that y is negative 2. I'm going to try then getting closer to 3, so then I might try like 2.9, because that would be right to the left of 3. And I see that it gets something a little bit different. Then let's say I want to get even closer to 3, and I do 2.99. Gets a little different. And I'm just going to keep adding 9s and see what happens. Okay, so you can see that it's really starting to just be negative 1.75, because after that becomes zeros. So I'm just going to put in that my limit as x approaches 3 from the left is negative 1.75. Now I want to approach 3 from the right. Well, the right of 3 is 4. So first I would probably just try plugging in 4 to see what that y value is. It's negative 4.75. Well, then I want to get closer and closer to 3 from the right, so I want to think a little bit bigger than 3. Let's do 3.1. That would be just slightly after 3. Okay, I see it changed quite a bit. Then I don't want to keep doing 3.11. I want to add zeros in here. So 3.1 was 3 1/10. Now I'm going to do 3 1/100th. I'm going to start zooming in on 3 from the right. That changed. Then I'm going to add another 0. So it's 1,000th of a distance away from 3. Okay, and then let's even try adding in another 0. So I can see that it's also becoming negative 1.75. So I'm going to put that in. Because these numbers match, that means that as I come from the left and the right, that the limit as x approaches 3 exists, and it's also negative 1.75. And I can see that f of 3 was the same. So this function shouldn't have a hole or anything. It should be just a smooth, continuous line, and you just hit submit answer. And it shows you all of the work. Let's try one more. Okay, this time we have a negative 1 as the number we're trying to figure out what the limit's approaching. So I would probably first just plug in my negative 1 again and hit try. It tells me it's undefined. And there's a little button right here. You can just hit undefined. That means there's a hole there or an asymptote or something that's making that not exist. But then let's try some numbers to the left of negative 1. Be careful with negative. So negative 1 would be getting more negative. So I could actually try negative 2 would be to the left. And I get negative 2. Now let's start getting closer to negative 1. So I could do negative 1.1. I could do negative 1.01. So I'm starting to get closer and closer to negative 1. Add in another 0. And maybe another 0. But I can see that really I'm just approaching negative 1.5. This is going to keep adding more and more zeros. So I'll put that for my left limit. Now let's go from the right side. So 0 is on the right of negative 1. And that's negative 12. Getting closer, so that would be like negative 0.9, 9/10 would be right here. Okay, and then I'm going to go negative 0.99 and 999. You could do one more time, but you should see that the pattern is that it's just really going to be negative 10. So because this is approaching negative 1.5 from the left and this is approaching a different y value from the right, I have a function that is going to be doing something like this, where there's a jump here to here. So the overall limit at -1, the general limit we would say is D and E does not exist.